my fellow Americans. If you think you know politics, think again. I'm Michael Cohen, and every week on When You Know, we're pulling back the curtain on power, politics, media, and the people making headlines. On my new WABC radio show, you'll hear conversations from names that you know. People like Jerry Falwell Jr., Anthony Scaramucci, Alan Dershowitz, and many, many more. Maybe, just maybe, we'll even hear from the president. No scripts, no spin, just real conversations with people who were in the room where it happened. And trust me, we've got some very big surprises coming. Look, I've spent years at the center of politics, controversy, and power. I know the players, I know the stories, and now I'm bringing you inside. When You Know, Sundays at 5 p.m. on WABC Radio, and When You Know Unleashed, wherever you get your podcasts. Because with me, you never know who's going to show up.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
That too. And he also, at the very end of his letter, in classic Graham Plattner fashion, he writes this letter, and then he says, F ICE, free Palestine, up the hearts. I mean, what a class act. I'm being facetious because, boy, is this guy lowbrow through and through. And it wasn't that long ago, remember, that he knew the writing was on the wall, that the Democratic Party didn't want to support him, they didn't want to fund him, and then he released this videotape. Take a listen. Here's what he said earlier in the week.
And so we're suspending campaign operations. I want to make clear, though, I intend to file my paperwork to withdraw. The process needs to assure that what comes next is reflective of the Mainers who on June 9th turned out and showed that they are desperate for a different kind of politics.
They're not that desperate. They picked, oh my goodness, finally their eyes are opening up. They did pick him, but now clearly he knew that there was nowhere to go, and he's angry. He's angry at the media. He's angry at the Democratic establishment. He just doesn't seem to be looking in the mirror very often because that's obviously where his ire should be directed. And I want to know, was there any sort of like secret deal or anything else that he got essentially? Because originally he wasn't going to drop out, he said, until Monday. And I thought that was a really weird thing. Like, why is he waiting till Monday? Why was he doing that? That's an odd thing. And then suddenly he withdrew today. So did he get some promise behind the scenes that whoever comes in is not going to push to get him investigated for potential rape? Did he get some promise, not that they would have control over it, but they might be able to sway the public opinion? Or to say, oh, we love Graham Plattner. What a wonderful man he was. He was just misunderstood. I mean, there's some sort of deal in the works because suddenly he changed his tune and he submitted it today. Hopefully there wasn't, but I don't have a lot of faith in the Democratic establishment, especially there in New York. Meantime, Marco Rubio, guys, the Secretary of State, he came out and he made a very powerful announcement that this guy from Laos who's in the country illegally, and he is accused and charged with molesting a girl who was age 10 to age 12. Now, he admitted it. He said it's only a minor thing. He's from Laos. It's a cultural thing. No big deal. Not anything to worry about. So he gets charged. And then Tim Walz, who's on the state pardon board, actually granted the guy clemency, gave him a pardon, granted clemency, and wasn't going to deport him. Oh, we want to take care of you, sweet sexual predator. So Marco Rubio found out about this and said, we don't want this kind of monster in our country. And he got him deported, despite Tim Walz wanting to give a sex predator a pardon. What is going on with Tim Walz? But here's Marco Rubio trying to clean it all up.
Just weeks ago, a convicted sex offender and a foreign national was shielded from deportation by the governor of Minnesota. Laotian national Tu Li Vang was convicted of repeatedly sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in the state of Minnesota. He even tried to pay his victim for her silence, and he called his heinous crimes a minor thing. Just days before this foreign sex offender was scheduled to be deported, Tim Walz, the governor, issued him a pardon, setting him free to once again endanger the children of America. Well, this week I revoked his legal status in the United States, and as a result, federal agents took him into custody, and as of today, he has been removed from the United States. Because of our action, this foreign criminal will never pose a threat to any American ever again. Americans must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals who have no right to begin with to reside in our country. This administration will always stand with the American people and defend them from violent criminals.
And thank goodness the Trump administration is on it. I mean, what kind of a monster says, yeah, I want to make sure that I give somebody clemency so they can see the light of day and be released back out onto the community in Minnesota? How does that make any sense? It does not. I mean, it's unconscionable, but it is Tim Walz. So I could see for that reason, potentially, him saying, oh, yeah, you know what? Let's forgive and forget. I told you what the new DSA platform is. The new DSA platform is essentially saying that anybody who's committed crimes, anybody that's in the country illegally, even if they're violent criminal offenders, that anybody should be able to remain in this country. What a lovely place that is. Can you imagine? You want to have them living next door to you? I don't think so. And here is Tom Homan talking about what Tim Walz had prepared to do and what it would have meant to communities.
I'd love to ask you is, what would you say now to Governor Tim Walz?
Can't say it on air, but look, who pardons a child sex offender, child rapist? I mean, that's how much he supports illegal aliens over U.S. citizens, U.S. citizen children. I'm glad Marco Rubio did this, but you know, this happens more times you can guess. Will, I mean, I you know, unless you understand immigration law, I see a lot of times a district attorney or in a sanctuary city, they'll downgrade a crime so they can't be removable. For instance, if you're a resident alien and you get an aggravated felony, you can be deported without even seeing an immigration judge as long as you get a felony conviction with 365-day sentence. And I've seen cases 355. Now, why do you think they did that? They did that so we couldn't act to remove this person from the United States. So this happens a lot, but President Trump, the Department of Justice, and thank God Marco Rubio's all over this, we're going to fight them every time they come with this.
That's incredible. They got to deal with the going after the person with the crime, and then they got to deal with a soft on crime parole board. That truly is shocking, and it truly is unconscionable. And it makes you wonder how many others are out there from very sort of soft on crime officials. I mean, you just have to wonder what is going on and what is happening here in this particular case. And how could they even think that this guy somehow rehabilitated or had some change or that it was a minor offense, repeated rape of a 10 to 12-year-old, and you want to keep him in the country? I don't think so. That's one of the worst of the worst. And speaking of one of the worst, this is shocking. Mayor Zoran Mandani's International Affairs Commissioner was planning to meet with the ambassador to the UN from Iran this week. There was a meeting that was all scheduled. It was all set up. The guy is somebody who was shouting death to America, death to President Trump. It comes as Iran was planning an assassination of President Trump, and we're at war with the country. So you got to have a screw loose to think that it would be a good thing to go meet with these people. For what? What is it, community relations? Are you kidding me? So they were planning to meet, apparently, this commissioner this week with this ambassador. And then the City Journal, local publication, found out about it. They publicized it. And then the State Department found out about it, and the State Department canceled and said, that will not be happening. We're not going to have people like freewheeling U.S. policy while we're at war with a terrorist regime. And anybody who thinks otherwise is going to have huge problems. So Zoran Mandani was asked about this. Everyone's like, first of all, how could this happen? Who knew what and when? Was he aware of this plan? Was he aware that she was planning to meet with these ambassadors? Was he aware that clearly that Iran's at war with America and the free world? I would hope so. And I would hope he would also know who the commissioners are meeting with. You don't just randomly meet with somebody who is a UN ambassador of any country, especially one we're at war with, and then not know about it. So either are you that out of it that you don't have control of your staff, or is your staff doing your wishes? Clearly, she didn't think there was anything wrong with it because she hears them bash Israel all the time and talk about free Palestine all the time. And then he criticized also Iran right after the incursion this go round. He talked about just how over the top this incursion was. He was very much against it. Remember, he came out. So maybe the staffer just thinks she's completely following Zoran Mandani's wishes. I wouldn't be surprised. Whose side is he on, people are asking tonight. Well, here is Zoran Mandani. He was asked about it today in the press briefing, and listen to his answer when he was asked, did you know anything about it?
My question for you is, recent reporting showed that the International Affairs Commissioner, Anna Maria Archila, was trying to meet with Iran's ambassador. Thoughts on her coordinating that meeting without your awareness? Also, what do you see Archila's role as the Commissioner of International Affairs? Is she supposed to be making these types of foreign policy, I guess, decisions behind your back? I mean, your reaction to that. And also, sorry, did you see the Graham Plattner video and your thoughts on that?
No, I haven't seen the video. I want to be clear on your first question. That meeting did not take place. It will not take place. And I did not know about it until there was a press inquiry regarding it. And when it comes to the work of our commissioner and our International Affairs Office, it's to ensure that as we are a city of the world, that we are also there to meet with leaders from across the world. The focus is always on our city and our relationship.
Thank you.
Reprimanded for planning the meeting?
The commissioner recognizes that this was made an error, and we're working on a new process in terms of new meeting requests. Again, this was a request that came into the office, not one that originated from the office.
First of all, he doesn't sound that upset. He says the commissioner realizes it was an error. So was that commissioner reprimanded? Was that commissioner fired? Do you honestly believe that he didn't know anything about it? You think some commissioner is going to be meeting with some ambassador without approving it with the mayor and the mayor's staff, other people on the staff? I find that unbelievably hard to believe. And again, he seems unfazed by it. Oh, it's an error. Yeah. And then he also says that they reached out to him, that they actually called the office and said, hey, could we do this meeting? So they clearly felt that they had a friendly group that they could meet with. Like-minded people, I guess. They thought, oh, maybe I can meet with Mandani's team because they clearly seem to have some of the same animus, I think, towards America that they do. I mean, some of the comments have been very much protective of Iran. Even Mandani's comments were very much protective of Iran early on in this war. So they felt comfortable to reach out. And they got a friendly voice on the other end, this commissioner who was all ready to meet, except the cat got out of the bag. So there are a lot of questions here tonight. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey, line 5. And Sandra, before I get you on the other topic, what do you make of Mandani saying, oh, it was an error and he didn't know anything about it?
Oh, I first of all, when he says, let me be clear, he has this like authoritativeness, like nothing is going to shake him. He really, really is something else. I got to tell you, And I think, of course, he's not going to care about what that person did. That person's going to get away with everything, and because that's part of his team. So he's going to diminish anything wrong that person did, and he'll continue on with no.
Yeah, no big deal. Oh, it's just a little error, and we're going to fix our process for meetings. I mean, is there anybody out there that actually thinks the mayor of New York City would essentially not want some clearing process where they would inform the mayor, especially on something like this? Hey, guess what? We just got a call from the Iranian embassy. Don't you think that the consulate, it would have the alarm bells going off? You know, I mean, what do they get calls like this all the time? Sandra, do me a favor. Stay with us because we got to go to a break. Okay. But I want to continue with you right after the break. 1-800-848-9222.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And we talked about the story with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, deporting this illegal alien who raped a 10-year-old girl. He was pardoned, this guy, by Tim Walz. And then the State Department said, no, this guy will be deported. Hermit Sal, I love this, always sends some great tweets to me, at Rita Cosby, everybody. And he says, it's unfortunate that Secretary Rubio could not also declare Walz as a threat to Americans and deport him as well. Good point, Sal. I wish that could happen. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Sandra on line 5. Go ahead, Sandra.
So many things. Like, I called tonight to say that about Rubio terminating the pardon for this illegal monster. You know, you have to think about that girl, 10 years old. She's going to need years and years of therapy. I want to know who's going to pay for this. Perhaps that monster that did this, or maybe who's going to pay for this therapy that she deserves to get money for, because she's going to need it. That's the first thought I had. Then I thought about Rubio. You know, I don't hear him speak enough, but when he does, he uses so few words and he gets his point across so well. Like tonight, saying what he said, you know, he just has a way about him.
I agree. He's got an elegance about him and a command. And that's why I'm not sure when, next go around for the presidency, I see him and J.D. Vance on the ticket. I'm not sure who's on the top or who's on the bottom, but I see the two of them being a powerhouse team.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And today we learn more details about this really frightening plot at the UFC White House event. Remember, for President Trump's birthday on June 14th, Flag Day. It was his 80th birthday. There was a massive crowd there. And now we're getting word that there were 8 individuals, it looks like all American citizens, that were planning and plotting and radicalized and talking on encrypted apps and planning a mass attack on the crowd there. So not just the president, but also the vice president was there. There were so many officials at that event. There were so many dignitaries. There were so many who's who journalists and, all big, huge VIP guests. I mean, it's absolutely frightening to know what was going on there. And the thought that these people were not just talking about it. What we learned today, because all 8 of them were indicted yesterday. And the only way that they learned about it, remember, was that they got tipped off by the mother of one of these guys. and said, I'm really concerned about my son. He's on this online chat thing and he's doing some really weird and questionable things. And so when you look at all of those things, it's really, really troubling. And it also just portends that these people get radicalized. I want to know who was funding them. I want to know who is inspiring them. I want to know, how did all of this come about? And they apparently started on TikTok. They were then kind of vetting people in the group to carry out this mass attack. And it was going to be drone strikes on, the crowd of 4,000 people. Can you imagine? Remember the big UFC arena that was set up and all that? And then when people were running away from the drone strikes, they were going to open fire on snipers. I mean, this is really scary. Really, really scary. And what could have happened? Can you imagine what could have come together for something like this? It is really very, very chilling. And you have to wonder how far along they were. It looks like, that they were clearly on the planning stage. It looks like they were much, much further along than, indeed, what others have believed in terms of just words or potential actions. In this particular case, they say that they were thinking for a long time. Then they figured out like-minded individuals. They moved from TikTok and they moved over to Signal app, which is an encrypted app. And on that Signal app, that's when they all kind of got together and planned and plotted. And they had felt they had vetted people that were, quote, true believers at that point. And then the true believers that got onto this encrypted Signal app were planning, okay, where do I put weapons? Where do I do this? Where do I do this? Where do I do the dry run? I mean, this is very, very frightening to see that indeed they were planning it this far. And they were from all over the country, too. There were some that were from Ohio. There were some that were from California. But it's absolutely frightening that most of them did not know each other, but came together by like-minded beliefs. And that is a really chilling and really just disheartening message. And it just shows the threats to this president are coming from everywhere. They're not just coming, from areas like overseas, like Iran or anywhere else. They are coming from domestic. They're coming from within. And here is, this is the U.S. Attorney in Columbus, Dominic Gerasi, and he described sort of how this all came together, and this really does send chills. Imagine had they been successful. They were stopped 4 days before. As I mentioned, the mother of one of these guys said, my son's acting weird, and she called authorities, and authorities busted them. But had that call not happened, who knows what could have happened on that night. Take a listen.
The allegations in this indictment, we allege, show that these men were not simply airing grievances from behind their keyboards and sharing like-minded political ideologies. Rather, they took action to carry out a plot to attack the UFC Freedom 250 event and to murder federal officials at the highest levels of our government.
And this is how they plan to carry it out. Take a listen.
Through this investigation, we learned the group allegedly planned to carry out a mass casualty attack involving the use of drones, armed with explosives and firearms meant to shoot people fleeing in the crowds. Our command posts also included membership of the Secret Service and other partners to share information in real time and to help ensure no violence occurred at the White House UFC event or any other high-profile events.
And let's go to your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to George in Pearl River. Line 4. Go ahead, George.
Hi, Rita. In regards to Mr. Tampon, or you want to call him Mr., you know what? Let that guy out. I'm going to get a little graphic. If he believes what he believes in, let me see one of his family members get tied up and let him watch this molester molest one of his family members. And then let's see how he feels about that afterwards.
I mean, obviously, we don't want that to happen, but But George, there is a disconnect, and I agree with you on the disconnect. I mean, who are these people that would actually say, "Oh, I feel sorry for that guy"? I don't feel sorry for that guy one shape or form. And like you said, I mean, what do you think it is about Tampon Tim Walz that he takes it upon himself to say that person should stay in the community? Why would you ever do that to your own community?
You know what I really feel, Rita? I don't think a lot of these people really believe what they believe in. They want Trump out so bad. You know what I really believe? If Trump was dead and somebody else took him, I think they would change course. These people are so vile and it's disgusting that I think if Trump would get killed, these people would set back a little bit. Everything's gone. They want Trump dead. It's disgusting.
It is really disgusting. But what does Trump have to do with this guy staying or going? Is it because, are you talking about because of the crackdown with immigration that even the worst of the worst, like someone like this guy, they want to keep?
Exactly. Yeah. They just want all these people here. They want to invade. And I'll be honest with you, it's a war against white Christian. It's a war. They want everybody in this country to flood out the color, the whites. And I'm white Catholic. And you know what? It's a big racial war, religious war. It's disgusting. That's what. One reason why Mandani is there, he doesn't care about the people. He cares about bringing his ideology, religion here, the New Yorkers. He don't care about nobody. They're bringing their culture here, and that's it. They don't care about nothing.
What do you think of Mandani's aide? Did you hear this? The commissioner, George, who was planning to meet with the U.S. ambassador. I mean, that to me is really troubling that meeting was going to happen and then the State Department stepped in. But I mean, why in their right mind when we know, I mean, it's in the headlines. It's not like some obscure war. It's in the headlines every day. And Mandani wants us to believe that he didn't know anything about it. I don't believe that. That's my opinion. Your thoughts?
Rita, we're getting pushed around. No one's doing nothing about it. Something's got to be done. We're in big trouble. Big trouble.
Yeah, I do worry, and I think sadly it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better, just because the DSA is planning on unveiling their plan next week, and they seem to be getting a foothold. Thank goodness Plattner's out, but there's still a whole bunch of other ones that are running in races across the country. George, thank you. You're terrific. I love how you care about this country. We don't want anything to happen to Tampon Tim Walz. But we certainly don't want anything to happen to our great American citizens, too, as well. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa. On line 2, Eduardo.
Yeah, good evening, Rita. You know, a couple of things. First, I think we need to turn over any kind of history on these candidates running like Tallarico. And here's something that I like to see President Trump.
But hang on. When you talk about the history, what do you mean? Like what? Like an opposition research thing, or what do you mean?
Right. Something that they might have done like misconduct in the past.
But you know the thing is, they apparently did some vetting of crazy Plattner. They claim, but you know the problem was, Eduardo. This is the craziest thing. When they vetted Plattner, you see these two bleeding heart Democrats who were in charge, I guess, of the vetting. And I think it was Wall Street Journal that interviewed them and said, hey, you know, did any of these things come up? Did it come up, some of these horrible posts that he had, you know, mocking veterans or this or that? And they said, well, some of it came up, not all of it, but some of it. And then they kind of smiled. So in other words, some of these things came up and they were okay with it, Eduardo. I mean, you got to have the right people vetting these people too.
Sure. Yeah. And, you know, on the Iran thing, I totally support this. And I would like to see President Trump, I don't know if this will happen, cleverly bring in somebody like a Turkey or a Syria, you know, because we don't have Assad anymore. And I'd like to see them play a role in this too. I think that would even piss off the media too.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And listen, President Trump took Syria off sort of the state-sponsored terrorism list, remember, this week. Right. So he did do some actions, and you wonder what is he going to get or what are we going to get in return as a thank you. So maybe there is some sort of, because why else do it if you're not getting some other ulterior measure out of it? And Turkey, There's still obviously a lot of talk about these F-35s, whether or not they're going to get them. A lot of people believe Trump is just kind of playing around because they want them. Turkey hasn't done anything, it sounds like, as far as we know, to really thwart us in our war against Iran. They've sort of stood back, and President Trump's
silent,
and that's a good thing. I mean, if that's indeed the truth, President Trump believes that Erdogan's been, fairly straight ahead with him. So I think you're right. I think they do need to do something, and I think they can also, both of them, have a huge impact. I mean, the problem is the Kurds. There were reports early on they'd love to have the Kurds play a role and help the Iranian people, maybe supply them, train them, help them, fight with them. But then Turkey doesn't like the Kurds. They don't want them there. They don't want them all over the place. They've had bad blood with the Kurds. So Turkey's been opposed to that. So there are so many nuances to this. Eduardo, what do you think is going to happen with the fact that we just got word tonight that like 20 warships and 2 aircraft carriers from the U.S. are headed there? What's that about?
Oh, well, we might have something like Karg Island get hit and something deeper into Iran. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see, right? That very well. You might be right on. Absolutely. Eduardo, thank you so much. It's always great to hear from you. Let's go to Sal in New Jersey. And everybody, the number to call is 1-800-848-9222. Sal, your thoughts tonight.
Hello, Rita. Rita, we should go all out against and fight against Islam at home and abroad, at home in our colleges, universities, and getting rid of all of our politicians as much as possible. We should petition. We should protest against Mandani and his kind. We should do everything short of violence in order to get them out of office. And in Iran, we should just go all out for victory, not like we did in Vietnam. Just go all out for total victory and defeat defeat Iran.
So what does victory, Sal? What does victory look like in Iran?
That would be to overthrow the government over there and bring democracy over there. We should do our best. Maybe should we get the Kurds involved, like the previous guy that's the previous caller brought up. We should get maybe get our allies, try to get our Arab allies get involved.
Yeah, you know what? I think we need to get them somehow engaged. I was happy to hear that it sounded like they may have played a role already. At least the Kuwaitis and the Bahrainis, maybe with some strikes this week. If indeed that's true, that's a big deal. If they're like playing a role in strikes on an Arab partner, unconfirmed reports, but there was bombing and it wasn't U.S. and it wasn't Israel. So that's, I think, says it all. Now, what do you make of this, Sal? Next week, the DSA is unveiling their platform, and it's abolish the Senate, abolish the Supreme Court and president, defund the Department of War, amnesty for all illegal migrants, including those who rape 10-year-old girls in Minnesota, and also abolish police and prisons. I mean, who in their right mind would have a list like this?
Rita, these are flat-out insane Marxists that want to destroy our country and turn us into a Marxist dystopia. That's all there is to it. And Rita, I want to make one more point. Zoran, I'm an American of Italian heritage. Zoran Mandani didn't even mention Little Italy in that map of his, and he's not going to stop at the Italian Americans. He's going to go after all of the white Europeans, because that's the new enemy in this country: white European Christians.
Well, and you know what? He left off the little Israel, if you will. He left off Irish and Italian. Sal, hold on. In fact, here he is, because he was asked about it, because that was pretty blatant. And he kept on. He had little Yemen, and he had little Palestine, and he had little Pakistan. So that kind of says it all. But here he is. He was asked about it in a press conference.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Can you please address the controversy that has developed over the city's immigrant enclaves list? Do you believe that there are neighborhoods that were left off that list? And if the city plans to add more, which other neighborhoods do you think should be added?
Yeah. So this map was initially created by the prior administration in 2023, and when we inherited it, we added a few additional neighborhoods. It's clearly not an exhaustive list of the more than 200 ethnic communities that call our city home, and we're going to be making additional changes in the future to reflect that, and that includes adding Little Italy to the map. Oh,
Little Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it was just an oversight, but he didn't say anything about the Jewish community. Did you notice that? He left that out.
He was just hemming and hawing. The guy's a flat out anti-Semite, and he hates white Christian European Americans. And he's just gonna he's just gonna go. He's going after America. He hates America, and he wants to destroy us. And we have to do everything we can in our power, short of violence, in order to go out against these people.
Yeah, you got to get out and vote, and you got to block them from voting, or from taking a bigger position or even getting in office. I mean, people do take the vote for granted, especially when the stakes are so high, as Sal is so eloquently describing. Get out and vote, and vote for common sense. I mean, it is lunacy versus common sense, I think, in the midterms this time. Sal, thank you so much. And everybody, we're going to continue right after the break. 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with the powerful story from Green Bay, Wisconsin, where Korean War, Vietnam, and Vietnam-era veterans returned to the airport after a one-day trip to Washington, D.C. They were part of the Stars and Stripes Flight of Champions honor flight. About 45 veterans traveled to see memorials dedicated to their service and came home to loved ones and strangers holding signs and waving American flags. One of them was a guy named Reginald Hendricks, a Vietnam-era veteran. He said the experience was one of the best in his life. He said when he was there were so many people that were cheering and thanking him for his service. He said it was an honor to be there. He previously was training to go to Vietnam, but he was redirected to Germany when Russia invaded Czechoslovakia. He spent the next 18 months there, and how beautiful to see these veterans honored in such a powerful way. And everybody, help America to never, ever forget. Donate $11 a month to the great Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And by the way, everybody, Rahm Emanuel, of course, who was the former chief of staff of then President Barack Obama, looks like he may be thinking of a run for 2028. He's also the former Chicago mayor. And he did an interview with Politico where he is essentially schooling President Donald Trump on the art of the deal, saying that Iran really knows what they're doing a lot more than President Trump, essentially. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine if Barack Obama or Joe Biden or those guys were right now at the helm in the Oval Office? You'd see pallets of cash flying everywhere. Everybody have a great weekend.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.